Hi there and welcome back to Japan and to another one of these little talking videos that I've been doing recently. A big thank you to everyone who's following the channel, by the way, for being patient with the fact that obviously we're not able to release much content this week and next week's going to be a little bit quiet as well, whilst I'm working on directing a commercial and putting out a big video that I know a lot of you guys know is coming to the channel soon. But in the meantime, like I said, I would do some pieces where I would talk about some things that come up. And something came up today which was a total surprise to me and to think most people, which is that Band-Maid have announced not only that they have a new single coming out, I believe, on December the 2nd, they have a new album coming out in January, therefore making it only about a year's gap between this one and Conqueror. Not unsurprising, but still interesting, but that they have signed to Pony Canyon Records. Now, this is an issue that I have a lot that I want to discuss about, and I wanted to talk kind of just, I know this is all hypothetical at this point, but slightly from experience as well, about what I'm expecting from this change, why I think they did it, and, you know, the positives and negatives about it. Now, first of all, just in case you're not aware, I've worked with music my entire adult life, something that I try to say regularly in these videos, but at the same point, I'm not exactly what you'd call a high-end, owner of record companies, manager to the stars type. I'm just someone who's been around the scene a lot. And one of the companies who I've been around, and I've got friends luckily who still work there, is Pony Canyon. So I'm willing to accept that maybe I could be seen as biased on this front, but, you know, it's not like I'm a company man. I've got a relatively objective standpoint on this. And I would say that I feel positive in that Pony Canyon actually are a very reliable record company. They've been around for a while. They're not one of the huge names. I mean, they have some artists in Japan who are particularly big names. One of the ones that seems to be the most publicized is a boy band by the name of Sexy Zone. When they first signed Sexy Zone, I remember myself and several of the people I worked with who were in Japan but English speaking, just kind of fist in mouth, oh god, someone actually called a group Sexy Zone. So anyway, they have a connection with a lot of very poppy things. As a lot of people I've noticed already pointed out on social media, they're also very much connected with, well, they were famous for a while for like anime theme tunes. Shimakawa Mikuni was a famous anime singer who, again, someone who a great deal of respect for her. She was, you know, doing loads of anime theme tunes under Pony Canyon, but she wasn't the only one. Pony Canyon were very famous for that, but they do have a wide spread of music that maybe a lot of Western audiences and Western listeners wouldn't know so much about. And that's because they are very much Japan-focused, or Asia-focused, I should say. And that, in a way, is kind of a positive thing. I think one of the positive things that's going to lend this whole agreement, this whole arrangement to, is that it will mean that Band-Maid will keep that sort of very Asian identity in their sound. Now, this might sound like a strange thing to say, but I just wanted to point out here, obviously a band very much dictate their own sound, as in, you know, especially a band like Band-Maid, they write and, you know, they're very much involved in choosing the producers from what I've heard for their music, but you often have a position which will either be the executive producer or someone record company related, where basically what their job is to kind of steer the sound in the direction that the record company wants the artist to go, to basically mean that the artist is kind of matching up with why the company signed them. Now, a group with like Band-Maid, they kind of have a fairly reliable core sound. You know roughly what you're buying, so they're a safe purchase. Therefore, I don't think there's going to be too much outside interference from record companies steering them. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard stories before of what happens when you have an overbearing record company, usually through the executive producer, and then the artist comes out later saying, well, this whole album wasn't what we wanted it to do. They tried to make us do something which is the current sound. They tried to make us do what's currently pop, and we dislike this album. This is not what we wanted to do. Or maybe we'd written like 50 songs and they scrapped all the ones we liked and took all the ones we didn't like. That's what happens when you get really bad record company interference. I don't think that's going to happen with Band-Maid, partly because obviously their fan base is a fairly hard rock fan base. Now, I have been known to complain sometimes about the fact that hard rock fan bases notoriously kind of don't want their favourite artist to do anything that isn't hard rock or that might betray the hard rock thing, because that will suddenly make them less pure and they'll call them sellouts or whatever. However, the benefit of that is it does also mean that those artists tend to be held to more artistic qualities. You know, they also, by the same token, can't be forced to cop out. They can't be forced to turn pop in the bad sense. Again, not saying that Band-Maid would, but just talking about the possibility of record company interference. I don't think that the record company is going to interfere in a bad way because of the fact that Pony Canyon, I think, signed Band-Maid knowing what they were getting, knowing that they had an artist who had a good core base, who were pretty much a surefire thing, and they could get that, and they would get, good quality stuff. And one of the reasons I say this as well is because you've got to remember that Band-Maid, their quality comes down to having very good, pure songs, great musicianship, and the fans tend to listen to them as an album-type band, which is quite rare, even nowadays in Japan. They don't particularly have any big singles. Now, I know there's some people probably reeling right now. Let's just be clear on this, though. They have big singles by their standards. They have certain songs that are notably more catchy than the others. But if you compare them to what constitutes like a catchy single, like a chart-topping catchy single or something that's going to get into those realms, they don't really do that. So this is where I think we get the interesting point. Pony Canyon know that that's the type of artist they're signing, and they're happy with that. So I think, like I say, that's why we can expect the core qualities to be maintained and not too much interference. Yet the other side of that is that Pony Canyon have a lot of money on their sides. They can put down a lot in investment. A lot of people have also noted they are connected to Fuji TV, which means that they have got access to a little bit of favourable treatment from Fuji TV when it comes to publicity in that realm as well. But on top of all of this is the fact that they know, as you might have noticed from their very poppy roster, they know how to put out a big single. So I do wonder if maybe there won't be interference, but if Pony Canyon will be trying to steer and get a little bit of interest into trying to make sure that maybe there is at least one big breakout single, something that they can assure will chart well. Obviously fans reeled against things like Start Over. I didn't like the video, but I liked that song. I thought it was a good song. And that felt a little bit like it was going in that territory, but wasn't quite catchy enough. But it could well be that Pony Canyon have the right people on hand to help, maybe choose or encourage further writing on a song that might be a big single. And although that might not be something that fans particularly care about, it's really good for the band if they can land a big single that, really gets them into some sort of heavy charting position. And I mean, not just in rock circles, but in circles where they're more heard on the radio, then that could be, it could be positive for the band's bigger publicity. And of course, again, I know big fans tend to not like big singles, but they bring in more people, which brings in more interest, and then people delve further into the artist. So like I said, I think there's many positives here. I think that Pony Canyon are unlikely to be willing to interfere in a way that will upset the core fan base, but I think they'll also have the money and the sort of knowledge of how the charts work to try and steer things in a direction that might well increase Band-Maid's publicity in a positive way. So maybe, like I say, maybe I've got a little bit of positive bias on this subject, but I think that this could end up being a very good thing. And of course, Western representation, as far as I'm aware, JPU is still involved in I know in England and Europe, and I believe in America as well. I know that Band-Maid has some very complicated arrangements, but I believe they still got good representation rest of the world, so they're going to be fine there. I just think that this is positive because what representation they have in Japan is going to be more effective to what their output is artistically. Lack of interference, a knowledge of how to maintain your sound and not overly westernized. I just think this is a really good signing, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know when the signing was done in comparison to this song. I'm assuming that if they're putting out a single in December the 2nd, it was done knowing of this and that it was probably recorded in a studio on company money. So I'm assuming this is kind of like a statement of intent. I would say I was a big fan of Conqueror. I thought it was a brilliant album. I did a full review on this channel. Actually, it was on the last channel, but I re-uploaded it on this channel because you can't copyright me for doing an album review where I don't play any of the album. But I was a big fan of that. I felt that was a good step in the right direction creatively. I mean, some of that could have been executive production work from who they were dealing with at the time, but I think also the band have just been growing in their sound, which might well have encouraged Pony Canyon's interest. So anyway, all of this is just hypothetical thoughts, as always with this channel, especially like the last couple of weeks when I've just been doing these talky videos. Big point is that I'm trying to start conversation. I'm really interested in knowing what you guys think. Are you interested in this? Do you think this is going to make any difference at all? I personally think, like I said, I don't think it'll make as much difference as most people would suspect creatively to the sound, but I think underneath the surface there will be a lot going on which will be very important, but I don't think it'll bleed through too much into the music. But what do you think about this? Are you excited about it? Are you impressed about it? Do you know anything about Pony Canyon? What do you think the influences will be? What do you think the effects will be? What's your general feeling about the ideas of record companies and sort of executive production and them being involved in music at all? Do you think it's okay to just let artists run wild? Have you thought of any instances where actually a record company took hold? Have you heard of any instances where a record company took hold of an album and took something that could have been a bit of a disaster and actually steered it the right way? There are some examples where that's happened. I'd be really interested to know just your comments and thoughts on all of this, and also what you're expecting from Band-Maid's new album. Are you expecting something in particular? Do you have a feeling where it's going to go? You get the sort of question I'm asking here. Let me know what you think. Looking forward to reading those comments, and I'll try and get back to as many of them as I can. Like I say, still working very busy on directing this CM, this commercial, and then the video that I'll be working on for the rest of this week as well. Hopefully next week we'll get back to normal a bit more, but I'll try and put out a few of these videos. There are still a few conversation topics I wanted to bring up. So a big thank you to you for watching this video. Thank you if you get to like, subscribe, or comment or any of that. Feel free to follow any of the social medias linked in the description below. The community is still active, even when I'm on a little bit of a hiatus, talking about Japanese music and all different types of music. And yeah, a big thank you as always to our Patreons. You have no idea how difficult it's been recently. We always seem to have dramas here, but you guys do keep us alive, keep everything functioning, so a massive thank you to you. So anyway, biggest thanks for getting through to the end of this video and all that waffle. So until I see you hopefully as soon as I can in Japan for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.